everybody. Welcome back to Gardens, the Untold Story. I'm your host, Ken Somerville, and my co-host, the Invisible Gardener, Andy Lopez. We're going over his book, and I think we're on chapter 14 now, Andy, and we're doing natural weed control. So, Andy, it's your book, brother. Take it away.
I have to tell you something, Ken. So, when I started doing this with you, I was on a certain path, but then you have changed my path considerably in a lot of areas. So when we talk about soil biology, I used to call it microbes, and then I've never called the weeds medicine for the soil until I met you, because I've always had a special relationship with weeds because I never thought of them as weeds. I never thought of them as medicine either. I thought these guys here are here for a reason. I followed the biodynamic system. They use they call weeds. These are weeds, but not weeds. This is rich in this, and we can use it to make our biodynamic preparation. So biodynamics has tons of things that we can call weeds, but these are basically plants, collector plants that they take, and then they harvest them, and they make a poultice or a mixture from that. And it's the same thing with lots of other cultures. I grew up going to Cuba and Puerto Rico, and these people literally grow weeds. They let everything grow, and everything gets used. In Puerto Rico, I remember going on, walking through the field, said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm pulling the weeds. These are not weeds. Leave them alone." I go, "Okay, they look like weeds to me, And the same thing in Cuba. I go, They say, "What are you doing?" "Well, I'm trying to pull their weeds." "No, leave them alone." And they have different reasons for it because they understand that the weeds hold the ground together, if nothing else. If nothing else, these weeds. I've had weeds that are 10 times bigger than anything I would want to grow. They just come up on their own. Superman, superwoman kind of weeds that's just growing like crazy, really super strong in an environment that the rest of my plants are having such a hard time growing. Like here, what I'm doing now is a perfect example. But right now I have more and more worms and less weeds. In the beginning, I have tons of weeds everywhere. Weeds are growing everywhere, and the gophers never bothered the weeds at all. They didn't. I think about it, they didn't pull them down and eat them. They don't do that. The squirrels are not eating the weeds. The weeds are growing just there. Nothing's touching them. As soon as I stick something in the ground, they go after that one. And so that's a perfect example. And some of these weeds, I was just looking at a weed today, said, "There's no way I can put it out of the ground. This thing is so." I thought, well, maybe it's big enough now. No, the thing's taller than me, and it's a weed. It's just the guy next door. "It's a weed. Cut it down. I got all these weeds. I don't want more weeds." And I said, "Well, I want more weeds. Let them grow over here," because it literally went down into the ground. When a lot of times what I do is I don't pull the weeds. I cut them, let it decompose. The root system let it decompose in the ground. And sometimes I have this clippers. I'll cut the weed up into little pieces and spread it right down again. As I've been doing more and more, I basically start putting the weeds in my worm bin.
Yeah.
It seems to be working really well that way because they love the weeds. The worms love the weeds. Seems to be very rich in something, so they're eating it. And so my experience when I grew up in my home, at my parents' home, I started a gardening service, and I kind of remember telling people, leave the weeds alone. Unless you really, really hate it, leave the weeds alone. I would go and pick dandelion weeds on purpose and eat them and make coffee out of them right off the bat. I learned about poultices. My mother said, "Pick that weed." I said, "Why?" "Well, I want to make a poultice and put it on my cut or put it on my friend's cut or whatever." So, and unfortunately, the names are very they have Spanish names, and in Cuba they have their own names of these weeds, and in Puerto Rico their own names of those weeds. Over here, it depends who you're talking to, what the name of that weed is, right?
Yeah.
If you're from Mexico, if you're from Costa Rica, they all have a different name for these things. When I lived in Costa Rica, it was very interesting too, because wild forest, nobody's cutting the grass, nobody's pulling weeds. And quite often I see these ladies with baskets walk around the forest picking up what I would consider weeds. And I would ask them, "What's for?" "This is for my old husband or my brother or for the old man. He has a problem with this or problem with that." And they make a tea out of it, or they make a poultice, where you put it on, you wrap it around.
Yeah.
So and then here where I live, and the local people, the Shumech people, they love these weeds. They say, "Oh, that's a yaktabakasha." Oh, cool, great. What do you do with that? They said, "Well, we make a tea out of it. It's for your hair, or it's for your body, or you know." And I just
Yeah.
yes, I was giving a talk to the garden club, and I basically was talking about doing a worm farm, but I got carried a little bit onto the weed section because the guy talked before me was into predators, different kinds of predatory insects that you can release to go after the bad guys. And
Yeah.
one of the things that he was talking about was when he was talking about weeds, that the predators live in the weeds, and then when these bad guys, the whiteflies or whatever, come by, they get triggered and they go attacking, but they don't live on the plant. They live on their own plant, and their own plant are usually a weed. That's how the best way they get established, by living on a weed, and they don't eat the weed. They don't attack it. They just live there, and they go and attack all the other plants. That's like the home base. So there's something in the wheat that's preventing them from eating it, right? And so I started talking about that bugs and diseases do not attack plants that have a high Brix level. Have you ever measured the Brix levels of weeds?
No, not personally. No. Oh, somebody's calling you, man.
You can't. Mañana, ven aquí a las 9, okay?
Okay.
Bye. My worker, so he's just, yeah.
Yeah.
But, so I did that for a little while in Florida. I don't do it now anymore here because it's, I don't have to. I know that these weeds are so. If I was to do a Brix reading, there would generally be very high Brix levels, higher than any of the vegetables I would be growing. And I'm going, well, what's going on with this? Why does this weed have a higher Brix level than my tomato plant, right? Or why does this weed have a higher Brix level than the cabbages or whatever, right? And I find also too, and the answer to that is obvious, because they pull up not just one mineral, they pull up tons of other minerals. It's not just iron that's coming out of this plant, right? Like dandelion is not only rich in iron, but magnesium, copper, zinc. I mean, holy cow, right? and then I always thought that the weeds would die and then they would decompose back again. But oh no, the weeds transfer the minerals to the plant, to other plants that are next to it. That's why it's always good to have weeds growing with your plants, because that plant's going to get food from that weed, minerals and stuff just directly from the weed, because the biology would transfer to the roots of the biology of the plant. That's what happens with all things. The biology spreads out everything around an area. Really cool. It's really spreads out. And I kind of think it spreads out further than I think, because I've been talking to different people. Paul Stamets believes that it goes for miles. It could be like miles and miles, and then the food gets spread around. The minerals get spread around, and it's the weeds that bring it up, because they have super strong roots. The leaves are super strong, and you can even make a tea. That's what people do. They can either, like for example, I'm making here to control other bugs until I get my soil together from the weeds. I make a tea. It would measure test weeds for their Brix level. That's right. And we can I'm thinking of starting a book. I'm actually writing a new one called Heal the Earth and Heal Yourself. But in the chapter, it's going to be about weeds are nature's medicine. And I put a little thing in there. Thanks, Ken. And
well, aren't you?
I think that doing the Brix, that's an example, because people believe what they see rather than what they hear. So if they see this refractometer produce a high Brix level, it should get them thinking. And why does this weed have a high Brix level, right? And that's the key to it, because and then you'll find that if you actually test the Brix level of the plant, any plants around it, they're going to have almost the same Brix level and the same proportion of. But if you was to take it and send it to a lab, you're going to find everybody in that area has the same mineral content, because it's definitely being transferred. See?
Well, and like the weeds, as they break down, like they're, like you said, they're a collector or an accumulator plant.
Right.
So like, whatever it's bringing up, that's the main source, whether it's calcium, magnesium, molybdenum, whatever. you're chopping them down, chopping them up, putting them right back down, because Mother Nature is saying that spot needs those building blocks. It needs those components broken down in that area to fill up the warehouse that's there. And I love that you're actually chopping those weeds up,
Well, you know
and
what's
putting
even
them right
better?
back down.
I'm making a tea and spraying it.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Now,
lately,
Naturoscope pocket tester, I'm not sure about that one, Andy.
I pulled it up because I've heard a lot about it before, but it's basically tests the soil levels, the minerals and stuff. It's a little it's a small unit. It's just like a refractometer, but what it does is it measures trace minerals in the soil. Am I wrong? Who's the person that said that? Right?
Pembina River.
Maybe Silly can look it up, but that's essentially what it is. It's a unit similar to a refractometer. A refractometer measures the Brix level, sugar level in the plants. This device measures the minerals in the soil.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I haven't heard of that one, but that would be fantastic to be able to go around your property and take samples of your soil and go, oh well, I'm short in this and this and this. And then, especially when you're doing your foliar spraying, or if you're doing a soil drench, you can add those kind of missing components back into that area.
So I've been doing this business for quite a long time, and I often thought, well, I'll just do that. I should go out there and do immediate testing. I have a little a kit that I can just go out there and do a instant soil test, right, to see what the soil level is like. And same thing with using the refractometer to compare. But after doing it for quite a few years, you just know what's missing by the weeds that are growing. You just those weeds will always do the very same thing. And regardless of what part of the world they're in, we call it a different name, right? A different name, whatever it is, the name, but they would do the same thing. Would pull up this combination of minerals. It's usually not just one mineral. You'll find there's a bunch of different minerals that it pulls up together. And then you have different other plants. You have a bunch in a beautiful garden. You have like a wide range of weeds and wide range of plants. You don't have just one weed growing and one taking over the whole field. I mean, it doesn't really work that way. So after a while, you say, well, I don't have to do this. The only thing I'm learning about is that I don't need it, but sometimes the customer needs to have something they can say, look at this. So that's what's going on now, is that people are trying to bring the soil, like, for example, the people here in Pacific Palisades who have to clean up the soil and they have to then replant. So they're trying to figure out what kind of toxins are in the soil. The state doesn't really not that much helpful because they tell you certain things, but it's supposedly have been cleaned, but you still want to know, you want to have some proof that this soil is actually alive. One of the things I've been doing is recommending Layton's compost as a way to help clean this up. At the same time, by increasing the soil biology. So I offer for free. I go to people's property and spray my biology on it, but you have to do that on a regular basis. On top of that, you need to start planting. And the ideal scenario is to plant weeds.
Yeah.
Yep. Right. Real-time insights into plant stress and health by determining also the condition of the soil, if I'm correct, right?
Yes.
So
it's another tool that we can use, and I think that's perfect for whether you're a major farmer, or whether you're doing an indoor grow, doing cannabis, or whatever you're growing. This is a perfect thing to use to get a broader understanding of what's available in your soil.
And there's another tool, and it's just occurred to me. I have it over in my other room. So the way the refractometer works is that it refracts the light when you see it. So they have these glasses that you put on, and you can see the refraction of the light. You can tell if a plant has the nutrients in it or not, or if it's deficient in it, because the chlorophyll in the plant shows up in your glasses. So you can see by looking at it if it's like light green or dark green. Light green means it barely has any flow going through it, and you also correspond to a very low Brix level at the same time. So anyway, so I always had a close relationship to weeds because every time when I go to people's property, like I was there, I have maybe a new customer that I went to their house the other day, and the first thing I look at is what weeds are predominant. Like in my
Yeah.
garden, I'm always looking at what weeds are predominant. They seem to change a little bit here and there as it gets richer and richer. But the main thing I understand is that if I get a shovel and I dig down a foot, it's still the junk stuff down there,
Yeah.
right? I'm lucky if I have 6 inches or 4 inches of soil. That's really, the worms are there, but they're not going further down than, they're not going into this white construction sand stuff. Neither are the roots.
Yeah.
So throughout I've been there 2 years, and so I've been adding stuff and not throwing anything away. So it's slowly building up. I probably have 6 inches of good, rich, loomy, earthwormy soil. Down just another inch below it, 2 inches below it, it's just this white construction sand because it was a road. They compacted it. And so you can see this white sand, and it's just nothing growing there. So I'm thinking eventually I'm going to have to dig. I'm going to have to disturb it, just to tell the worms, everybody move over there, dig everything up, go down about 2 feet if I can, turn everything over so that maybe the advantage of doing it in that kind of soil is that it becomes like a container. So basically what I'll do is I'll dig down and sort of certain level and then turn that into so what I've been doing, I have a worm farm that's in a container, but I also have the worm farm in the ground. So I'm doing the very same
thing. Have you thought of using a broad fork to poke through that layer to start opening it up?
A broad fork. I was just looking at. I was in a garden place yesterday, and that's exactly what he had. But they had something that was for turning over compost. It's this thing that they're a little crooked. You take and you go like that, and it turns the compost over for you. A broad fork is one of those big things that you use, right? Right? Is it like a big fork?
Well, if you know what a potato fork is with the tines going down, broad fork is the same basic principle, but the tines can be, a foot, 12 inches, and you poke that down into the soil, but you lean back on it, but you're not trying to dig the soil up. You're just trying to crack the soil so that air and water can move down, and then the biology could move down into that layer and start consuming it.
That's a good idea. That I could do that. I could punch it in and then jiggle it a little bit to get some air down in there.
Well, and not only the air but the water break up the compaction, and then you can get the biology built down in there that's going to start consuming that material and turning it back into soil.
That's what I've been doing with the weeds. That's why I let a lot of weeds grow really big because they have these roots that go down. That's what it does, And then when I'm done with the weeds, I don't pull them up. I just cut it and leave the roots in there to decompose, and they leave like an area that goes down. I'm finding that all the way around the roots, when they decompose, the soil biology really does a job on them, and they have all the food there. And lately, I've been doing the digging down and putting down rice and cardboard down there that's been active. And also, what I do is when it rained, I made this incredible liquid mixture. So I have wood vinegar I add to it, biochar I add to it, bok choy. No, boshi.
Bokashi.
Bokashi. I always have a hard time with that. But yesterday, Michael kept saying, it's Bokashi. Bushu Waki, Bushu Sugar. Add Bokashi to it, and I add my worm juice to it, and milk.
I have a question because California has been under some wild weather. You've been getting a lot of rain. Is on your property, because you've been changing it over, are you having the rain actually soak into the ground, or is it still just, running off?
It's soaking in more and more. So like I said, it not only does it soak it in, but it hasn't been running off. In the past, it's just within the 6 months, it was just run down to the neighbor. You can see the little river flowing.
Yeah.
with all that rain we had, and it was lots of rain, it soaked right in. It literally soaked right in. So I can go down, that construction sand is soaking wet, but it's also soaking with all the biology that's dripping down into it, that's soaking down into it more and more. And I'm just going to have, I was just thinking about what can I do to increase the air, the oxygen, the biology to go down deeper. And that's exactly what I should do. I think, I don't know if they sell it, but I will go look at one of those in the hardware store, see if they have some kind of big giant fork thing that I could then use.
Well, let me bring up an image. Not fork.
I can just get a big fork for a giant. There's a place to sell food for giants. I could get.
I'll bring an image up for you, Andy, because I want, if you're going to go out and buy something, you really want to be buying the right thing.
I don't buy it. I just run in there, grab it, and run out.
But these are different broad forks. You can see.
So it's called a broad fork. A broad fork. So you put your feet in the middle there, and then you yank it back.
Well, yeah, you stuff it down into the ground. That's what tines are for. And you stand on it to stuff it down, and then you lean back on it to crack the soil. You're not trying to dig up the soil. You're just trying to crack it so that it opens up air passages and passages for water.
Cool. That'll work, because I was trying to figure out maybe I should have to dig everything up and rototill it, something like that. But now we'll kill every worm around. This is very humane. It won't kill any worms. I just have to tell the gophers get out of the way.
Yeah.
The idea is to, and even when I do that, since it leaves a hole, I could put some seeds down there, which goes down even further, maybe grow in that hole, or maybe I can take some worms and shove them down. Hey guys, go in there. Go in there.
Well, it's going to open up your soil and allow the moisture to go down even deeper, and it's going to allow the biology to get down in there. And it's a much better way than rototilling, because when you till the soil and the tines are going around so fast, you're literally compacting the soil underneath it. Yeah. Where in this way, you're not tilling it up, you're just breaking it open for air and moisture to get down in.
One of the things I found from all the rain, there was earthworms all over the place, underneath the bucket, on the sidewalk, on top of leaves, everywhere, So I took them all and put them back into a worm farm.
Yeah. Worms can breathe underwater, but only if there's enough dissolved oxygen in the water. I know. Other than that, they come to the surface.
So in my rainwater, I kept seeing these worms floating around. So what are you guys doing in the water? So they were still alive. I would take them and rescue them and put them in my worm farm. And so I thought that was interesting. Because on the earth, when you're in the ground, if it rains a lot, they're going to be basically underwater for a while until it drains. Otherwise, they'll all die, So I think that's pretty good. I have this interesting book that I'm using. It's all about medicine and plants. And what I find interesting here, and I have tons of other books that one of them is basically they are really all talking about weeds throughout history, what people were using, and basically these are all weeds, and I find it fascinating because I myself, well, I'm not a botanist. The weeds are there's so many different things that are considered weeds, but in reality, we have taken them and used them for medicine, and so I can see why it's medicine for people and medicine for the soil, because it's the same. We need the very same thing. We need these minerals, and the minerals that these weeds have can become available when we make a tea and drink it, or eat it. That tea makes it so the body absorbs it. It goes into our stomach, and our stomach converts it, which is exactly what the plants do for other plants. Basically, the weeds will give it to other plants, and then they will convert it. So there's tons of weeds here which have some amazing, interesting name, like the American ginseng. That was considered a weed for centuries. The American Indians used it. And so now you know about ginseng, but the plant itself, as American mistletoe, for example, these things are all used for various different drug purposes. Anise is a very interesting weed because I find it just grows like crazy. A lot of these weeds they have their own smell. So when you do herbs, you know how they all have a unique smell.
Yeah.
Right. And so the smell is also the key to it, because the smell is what the insects can respond to, because they will smell it before we do. They would like lemon balm, for example, right? or this one's basil. This is a weed that's considered a weed for many, many years, but even the Romans considered it a weed. But they would all make different types of medicine and tea from it. Isn't that interesting, right? And so
we call them medicinal plants for the soil, and they're medicinal plants for us. If you look at, whether it's the native culture or the Eastern culture, they've been using plants as a medicine for decade upon decade, for thousands of years. And we've gotten away from that and that knowledge. But if you look at the books, that are out there now, then, for, apothecaries that, we want, this plant is helping us with this is helping us with that. All of those plants, or the majority of them anyway, are considered weeds, but they're medicinal plants for us.
But when I started doing this, a weed by any other name is what I would come up. It was like, remember, a rose by any other name would still be a rose.
Yeah.
So, and we give. So I always found it fascinating that my mom would call something and my dad would call it something completely different. And then I had another friend who would call that same plant something else completely different. But and then they would also, some of them would have the similar use, but quite often they'll have different uses than the other people. Not necessarily tea, because you can use it so many different ways, and very rarely do people get weeds to feed other plants with. That's something that I kind of sought up. I said, well, if it's good for me, I can start spraying it back onto the people's properties. And
exactly, and that's what foliar sprays are all about. Is you're giving the building blocks that are necessary. And for people that don't really understand, like, we're talking about the weeds being an accumulator plant, but it's the biology's already broken the stuff down out of sand, silt, clay, organic material to create that plant, create the cells of that plant. And it's a lot easier to break that down and use it to grow another plant than it is to grow or to mine it out of the sand and the silt and the clay. It's easier to get it back out of the organic material.
When I started doing this, I thought, okay, so I'm going to go to people's homes. I'm going to take their weeds, bring it back, make a liquid, then go back and spray it. That didn't go over very well with the people. You're dingbat crazy. You're not going to charge me to come and get my weeds and then spray my weeds on my property. It ain't going to happen. I said, okay, fine. But here's one, for example, of black mustard. So the mustard plant was brought by the Spanish to California. And we know what mustard seeds are, right? We use mustard all the time for cooking and all that kind of stuff. So this is a plant. And this plant here is very interesting in a lot of ways, because it can be used for humans, but it also works really well for the soil biology. When plants, like these things here are rich in iron, magnesium, copper, heavy on the copper. And because of that, people use it for blood, to help dilate the blood vessels, to supply blood to, right? And it carries away toxins. And so, and this is like a super weed that grows everywhere. You see the yellow fields. If you see one plant that's blue, that's the male. You only need one male, and there's thousands of female plants, which is
a
good life, And
Yeah, you can look at it that way. But I wanted to bring up the question from Serena here. They have a burning ban for the next 14 days in her county. She's asking what can be done to encourage rain. And, the rain dance, actually, there is a lot of energy that goes into that. And there's other mechanisms to it. But my suggestion would be get out there and do the rain dance. Other than that, Andy, do you have any suggestions for that one?
well, see, what's going on now on a planetary scale is something we need to understand. And so, and you can't fight Mother Nature. If Mother Nature wants to rain in a certain area of the world and not rain in another part of the other world, good luck with making it rain in that part of not make it rain in that part of the world. It has a lot to do with the way the energies interact with each other,
Yeah.
and things can. So the best thing to do on your own property is to learn how to make your property more resilient, so it can go through longer periods of drought. I read a book called "Lazy Man's Guide to Gardening," and his
Okay,
solution,
that's me. Yeah.
yeah, his solution was to bury the very bottom. So when you start on a property, you have this hard soil, right? So he would turn it over, let's just break up the hard pan, put his drip line there, and then he would start layering it on a regular basis with stuff, whether it be cardboard, paper, right, leaves. Just keep layering and layering and layering, always layering. So, and then he lives in the desert. People come around and say, "What are you doing?" Because the water was always kept below ground. You only need
Yeah.
a little bit of water. Sometimes it'd be so hot that it would burn the plants, you scorch them, because you can't really do that, but it doesn't kill the plant. Eventually, the plants grow stronger. And he would grow things that, for example, cactus, prickly pear. They grow really, really well. Lots of things will grow really well as long as you provide below ground watering. Lots of people in California are learning that secret now. Keep the water below ground, and no matter what's going on above it, the plant's not going to die. And so that's one of the things you can do is learn how to make your plant, your ground, your soil more resilient. And that basically means more soil. That basically means you can't do it without soil. So if you have a lot of soil, then you want to keep your water below ground, right? You want to
Watch last week's show on mulch, because that's really, a
right,
lot of it is to have that mulch layer that can dry out, but
exactly
it's moist underneath, and it
right.
holds the water that does come.
If you don't have the mulch, then the earth will dry up really super, super fast. And if
Yes.
you water above 75% of that water will disappear before it even hits the ground.
Yes.
That's a waste.
Evaporation really fast.
That's a big waste of water right there. So if you have it buried below the line, drip line buried below the ground, and then you have different layers, and of course you want to rotate mulch and all kinds of other things in mulch and all kinds of other things in mulch, because that will all decompose and break down, and it was just hold it, and the sun will not bake it, because it will only go just a little bit, and the water's down below. Your plants will survive. Your fruit trees will survive. Even though I have a customer in the valley here, she says, "Well, I used to have plums. Now, no, I used to have let's see, nectarines, or what is it? I forget. Do plums turn into what is it called when it's shriveled up? Prunes."
Prunes? Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think that's plums.
yeah, yeah. So she says, "I used to have a plum tree. Now I have a prune tree." So
Well, good for her.
it got so hot that it just shriveled the plums up into. But the tree kept producing. It went through the wintertime, the summertime, and the heat and all that kind of stuff, and the wind blowing. But now it's the plum tree. It produces the plums, and then the prune tree. Then it would shrivel up in the heat, but it wouldn't die. And then
Yeah.
when the weather got mellow, it would be back to being a plum again. So I think that was really interesting. There's a ton. There's blue cohosh, and when I look through these, I automatically recognize them as herbs that I normally would use. Blue cohosh it's a weed, and sometimes it's called squaw root, blue ginseng, right? Papoose root, and these are being used for a long time for a variety of things for people's skin. For mainly is used to for skin irritation, mucous membrane, But at the same time, this is also rich in iron. And it's amazing how almost all these herbs, these plants that I've talked about here, they're all rich in iron. I'm looking at all these, rich in iron, rich in iron, rich in magnesium. So they tend to bring up almost the same thing. And there are some that are a little bit different. Like, for example, California poppy. This has a lots of uses that people do use. It's called the drowsy one because people who tend to use it for a variety of things. The California poppy is one of the ones that's really growing like crazy in my yard, like caraway. So I have a lot of plants that are basically catnip. I try to do catnip, and my cat freaks out over catnip. She starts sneezing.
You don't have to worry about the gophers coming in for the catnip. Your cat gets out there, rips it all up before that. But guys, a lot of the problems, like we think of weeds and we got to pull them out and you're composting them. But I like Andy's idea a lot better, where you just, you cut them off at the soil level and you chop them up, just put them right back down in that area, and you're going to get the benefit, because then you're creating a mulch out of the weed, which is going to hold more moisture in your soil.
And the weeds will be minerally rich.
Yes.
It'll be exactly what the soil needs there. And then you just have to be careful what you plant, because if your seeds, your plants have to be acclimated for your little area, what you're growing there. And so you really start off with plants that can handle stress, because when the roots go down just a foot and there's not the soil down there, the plants have to learn how to deal with that. So what happens is, to me, the plants will grow a certain length and then they start to die back because they can't really get any deeper. But those seeds will grow bigger. The next batch of seeds that come up are more acclimated to this environment. Plus, the soil is in better shape. And as I get better and better at getting things down deeper, like we're using that device, what is it called? A plow, something shovel?
The broad fork?
Broad fork. I got to write down Broad Fork. It sounds like a city. I used to live in Broad Fork, Louisiana.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do. You have to learn how to get things down there without destroying the environment. Because tearing everything up and throwing it over here and then putting it back down, it's like setting up an atomic bomb. You're going to do more damage than good.
It's going to take a long time for everything to build their houses again and come back together. It's amazing that, we've lost that understanding that, when you rip up those plants and, you have these big clumps of beautiful aggregation, those are like whole worlds for the biology. But Serena has a question, and I'm not sure, we're not, doctors or anything, but Andy, you've done a lot of helping a lot of people. What can people on blood thinners eat or take to prevent anemia?
I'm not going to get involved with that, because I do know a bunch of different things that you would use. But again, it has to be, we have to say, this is not a doctor's, or the YouTube does not like us to be prescribing things. And if they go out and do it and it's the wrong thing to do. So what the ideal way to do that, if you're on blood thinners, here's just my belief, because I have a lot of friends that are on blood thinners. Okay, that's because for some reason or another, they have a problem with their body. They can't deal with the correct processing of their blood system. And so the cause is not the blood thinner. The cause is what they're doing. So when the stuff they've been eating has actually been causing their blood to get thicker. So that's why you have to be careful what you eat, because if you don't eat the right thing, your blood will still stay thick. And if you're on blood thinner, if you're eating things that normally thins your blood, you don't want to be on blood thinner, because it'd be too thin. So what you really need to ask, the question you really need to ask is, okay, why am I taking the blood thinner in the first place? What is the cause that's causing
Yeah.
my blood to be too thin? You need to look at the cause. The real cause usually comes down to the food you're eating. It's very rarely a genetic thing nowadays. There are some things genetically that you are prone to be, but not blood thinning is not a genetic thing. Blood always relates to the food you eat in your body and what it does to your to your veins, and what it does to your
Yeah.
blood. You see, so you have to look at that, and you have to say, okay, how do I get? Because you can't just stop. You have to slowly switch over to other things that won't do that, that help you, that are mellow to your body. And so there are lots of things that, and these herbs are not necessarily mellow unless you know how to, because you can you can OD with these herbs really easy. You can take too much of coast food, too much of comfrey, too much of a good thing is bad. But so
Yeah.
you have to start with the process of, okay, what is the cause? Okay, so my stomach would be a good starting point. Right? My
What you're
stomach
putting into your stomach is going
exactly
to
right.
be a
What
good
you put
thing.
in your stomach would be a good starting point. That's what I would look at, because that's the same thing. What I put in my soil, right? As what I put in my stomach. And so I have a lot of friends who are going to the doctors. You got to do blood thinner, okay? And then you also see on TV, we can't do this because if you're taking blood thinner, because they will make your blood so thin you just die. And so so you can't recommend anything. The best thing to do is make your stomach function better, and
Yeah.
look at what is causing the damage to your butt, to your stomach. And it usually has to do with things you eat, not only things you eat, but things you drink. For example, if you're not paying attention to the water that you're drinking. So, I tell people you need a whole property filtration system. Well, think of your body as a whole property.
Mm-hmm.
And the water you drink has to be pure, just like the water the soil drinks. I mean, the correlations are amazing, and you have to start being more careful what you're drinking, because the drinking process. If you drink Coca, I was going to say those things, highly sugared soft
Yeah.
drink, things that don't really have any food value to them, things that have sugar and salt in them, a bunch of other coloring. The beer that you're drinking, it's not really beer, just that's a name beer. It's just called something else because you can't call it 70. Beer has 72 different chemicals. Where's the beer? You see,
Yeah.
so and if you go to a fast food, you're eating junk food in, junk food out, that will definitely damage your stomach over time. So you have to heal your stomach. You have to you have to you have to do it slowly, because now you're in trouble. Your body cannot generate your blood properly. So you have to figure out a way how to slowly do the changes. So
Well, you got to
ideally,
look back at the foundation,
right,
and you're 100% correct, Andy, when you're saying look for the underlying cause of what's going on,
right,
and most of the causes is going to be, you're deficient in, the proper building blocks for your cells to
exactly
have
right,
healthy cells.
exactly
But
right.
Andy, Serena actually wanted to ask either of us or both of us if we grow microgreens, and I grew microgreens for a long
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Uh,
I'm an old hippie too.
yeah,
So
very very healthy
that
microgreens.
explains it. That explains it. So that is one of the best things that's very gentle on your body. First of all, you have to stop doing what you know is bad for you. So if you know booze is bad, stop the booze. If you know going to junk food, stop it. Those are easy to do, but you're addicted to that. You say, "Oh, I gotta have my
Soda
pizza."
pop.
Yeah, right. I have a soda pop. I gotta have this steak. So you have to stop that. That's the hardest part. But there are many things, and you hit it upon. So I would recommend you get this book called Survival into the 21st Century by Victor Koviskis. It's like eat 50 mangoes, it cleans your blood right out. Oh no, 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 no. Yeah, yeah.
I like to eat with the seasons and up the minerals. I think that's really a good
When I
point.
was young, yeah, I could eat 50 mangoes, but so that my body was like Superman, and 50 mangoes in a day, I would be like, what was that? I know somebody Andy just came by. Was he here? What happened to? It's because there's a massive, and I had right along with 50 mangoes, I would eat like 30 or 40 citrus, oranges, you know. I got to the point that I was ruining my teeth because it was killing my you know, right? The bones of the teeth. It was just wear them out. So you don't want to jump in that direction. What you really want to do is do something that's really gentle. And the greens are the perfect sprouts and microgreens are the. I would do the sprouts thing. Microgreens are slightly different. You grow them and you eat them. You do like a tray of it. That's fine too, because the sprouts are excellent to use. But you're missing on the most important key thing that the sprouts get. It's the liquid that you're going to be throwing away, because when you do microgreens, they go right straight through in the ground. You're not getting in that. But if you're growing sprouts and when you first start sprouts, you have to soak your greens. I would take the very same thing that you use for microgreens and sprout those things. And then when you overnight, you have the liquid, and then you get the liquid the next morning. Don't throw it away. That is what you drink. In the book, it's called Rejuvelac for a reason. Rejuvelac for a reason, because your body can absorb this in a gentle way. It will take the minerals, it will take the biology. It will help your stomach to start to work. And you do that for a little while until your stomach starts to work and function more, and then you can start. You know, but by then, it's just simply doing that will increase your ability to produce the right type of blood system for your body rather than thin. Yeah. So it's just that alone will make a change. But you got to stop doing the things that's causing the problem.
And that means stop drinking city water, you know, like
or from the black.
Designed, the process of cleaning the water is designed to kill biology. And it's killing your stomach biology, which is what you need to process the food you're putting in.
The plastic in the plastic containers. You know what microplastics are? You're getting microplastics like crazy in your body. You know, it disrupts your hormone system. It disrupts all kinds of systems in your body. And you also have to start paying attention to the energies around. Right now, we're flowing in all these energies, and we are ignoring it. If you ignore it, your body's going to do all kinds of things. Wi-Fi, microwaves. You can't discuss the new USA dietary guide. What are the thoughts about
it? So, for anybody that doesn't know, the U.S. has changed the dietary guidelines to be more in tune with what the human body needs. So I'm 100% for that. We've been eating really wrong for a long time. Like they say, don't eat butter, but butter is the good fats your body needs. The margarine is the chemical, and it's not good for your body at all. So what they said before, they
never mind that
changed it.
I use a ghee, which is a purified as a type of butter. A lot easier on my body than regular butter, you know. But we could talk about that sometimes too in terms of eating things, because you'll find that there is a direct relationship with what you eat and what the soil eats. You'll find there's no way you can get around it. So interesting enough, eating sprouts and eating microgreens is like eating little vegetable gardens for you to eat, because you're getting a little miniature version of what your garden does. And it's so good. It's so good for you, because if you do the sprouts, grow some sprouts. They have all kinds of sprouts, whether it be cabbage, lettuce, you know, mung beans. These are all things you normally plant in the ground. Sunflowers. I lived with the let's see, what was her name? Hippocrates Health Institute. Wigmore. What was her? Hey, silly, look up Hippocrates Health Institute real fast. Hippocrates Health Institute, I forgot her name now, but she was doing sprouts, but microgreens in a tray, you know. And that would be the way that's her medicine she would be prescribing to her patients. Grow these. In the interim, don't eat anything. Wait for the little green fields to grow, and then you eat that. You get a scissor, you eat that. Make a sandwich out of it. Lots of ways you can eat it. And they found that immediately changed your body's chemistry. She was not doing the juice thing. I learned that about it a little bit later on. And the juice is the key to it. That is so amazing to use filtered water to soak the sprouts in, and then the next day take that, dump it into another gallon container, dash a lemon, drink it. And I would
Yeah.
slowly drink it throughout the whole day. If it's a gallon, drink the whole gallon in that day. And if you'll find your body, if you can test your body, there are ways you can test your body to see what it did to you. There's lots of different things you can use to test your body. Even a blood test. You can go do a blood test before, do a blood test after. You're going to go, what the heck? The doctor's going to say, okay, what did you do? And he said, well, I just had some sprouts and I drank the liquid. He's not going to believe you. That's the key to it. Right. Spoke to Misha of Papa Mustard broccoli seeds for sprouting tonight. Yeah, there you go. And so you leave the liquid. When you soak it, don't throw that liquid away. Drink it. And a dash of lemon makes it more palatable for you to drink. I add a dash of lemon, makes it easier for me to drink it.
Well, I'll add a little bit of knowledge here, guys. When your seed pops open, or what's called spermulation, it's literally shooting out the building blocks and the biology from inside of the seed that is there. The mother plant is put in there so that the seed can make it to that first cotyledon stage. Right. But I want Farmer Cheryl had another question for us. And what type of water should one drink? Does boiling the city water help before consumption?
Oh boy. Boiling it depends, because see, the chemicals that are put in the water can be gassed off. That means if you boil it, they would tend to vapor go off, but it doesn't get rid of a lot of other things in the water, and so you really have to filter it out. Yes. You really need to filter it out. So you have they have these little kits you buy. They have a carbon. One's a carbon filter. One has a different. There are different things in there that it would filter the water through out, and that's the best thing to do, is have a filter, because if you start boiling it, you're actually going to concentrate it in certain other things which you don't really want. Any chemical in there, some of it will get exposed to the air, like chlorine will do it, but there are other heavy metals. If you have heavy metals in there, you're going to get stronger concentration of heavy metals, right? Arsenic is only going to be more arsenic. You're not going to get rid of it, And so I would definitely just get a filtration system for your. A lot of people, what they do is have a filtration for the kitchen, or like I do, have a filter underneath it. The water goes straight through it, nice and clean. 4 different filters, they'll filter it out. And so that's what I would do. I would not boil the water or try to change it in any way, because there's no way you're actually going to concentrate more of the toxins that you want. Yeah, you'll get rid of the chlorine if they put chlorine in it, or some other chemicals that maybe. But what usually happens is that water that you have left, it's more concentrated with the toxins that you don't want.
And also chlorine can vaporize off, but the chloramine that they've switched to doesn't. So personally, I use a reverse osmosis filter, which takes everything out. But then before you consume that water, what I do is I put a pinch of sea salt
in there,
a good quality sea salt to remineralize it.
Exactly right. I use a Michael Widman's garden filter, which is really very good for that as well. But what I find is that it's best to spend a little bit of money and buy a 4-prong filtration system. Reverse osmosis is one of the tanks. Charcoal is another one. There's a couple other ones that come with a kit, and you'll find that that's the water you want to drink, because it's worth it for. When I go to customers' homes and they have city water, I plug it into my filter to use it, because what's the point of giving city water when my biologist just, you hear, oh my God, it's killing us. They're all dead, and it's awful. Spray dead stuff doesn't work. I have a lot of customers who buy stuff in the store, nothing alive in it. And then they say, well, this is supposed to be minerals. Well, nothing there to eat it, nothing there to give it, pass it around.
Well, and that's one of the biggest problems, with living in a city. Like I'm lucky I'm out of town far enough. I have, my own well, but I still use the reverse osmosis for my drinking water. And guys, a lot of people don't consider that your shower. Okay, when you take a shower with that city water, it's like doing a foliar spray for your plants.
Right through your
Everything's
skin.
coming on and soaking into your system.
Right
You're
through your
getting
skin.
the bad stuff in through that as well.
Right through your skin. And a lot of people, they say, well, I notice a difference when I have a filtration system for my shower because the skin is different and it cleans it up. But it's the water. So that if you give your soil biology bad water and you give your body's biology bad water, you're going to get the same results. It's not going to work. Your system is not going to work. So instead of going after more chemicals for blood, that's what blood thinners are, right? It's the chemical you take.
Yeah.
It helps the body but it doesn't solve the problem and the real cause of what's going on. So you can't say I'm going to continue eating my junk food, but I wanted to cure this problem, which is the problem is the junk food. Same thing with the ground, the soil, the plants. You can't continue to give them chemicals and then spray something magically that will solve the problem because it's not going to work. Like people do that all the time. I bought this, I sprayed that. What's wrong? Well, you missed the whole thing. You didn't get the whole point. It's the soil biology.
Well, and it's the plants, it's the sand that's filtering this stuff out. It's like I know there was a place in British Columbia where they couldn't have a system put in for their wastewater, so they literally built a system themselves using plants, etc., that was cleaning their wastewater and taking everything out of it, and they had cleaner water than any municipal government had using the plants, etc. And that's really what we need to get back to, is using Mother Nature to clean the water the way it's supposed to
filter your water out. When I started doing pools for people and I was doing natural pools with fishes in them, I would make a little living environment with plants that the water flowed through, and it would pump it right back into the pool. And it's amazing. It cleans it. You didn't have to use chlorine in it. You didn't have to do anything for it. And the fishes love it, and it survived. And that's using Mother Nature. So they have these, the biodome when they were doing their thing. Remember, they weren't using the soil to filter the water out. So they had a little minor problem there. See, So it using the soil to filter your water is what Mother Nature does, and that's the best thing to do, because you can literally drink that water once it goes through the plants, and you won't find any. You learn how to test it. You'd be surprised how less you can have less toxins and more minerals, because there's also you can end up with structured water. So when Mother Nature filters your water, it structures the water out too. As well.
It cleans it up. Like I used to run an aquaponic system, which is growing plants using the waste for fish, and it was just a constant cycle. But in the middle, there's what's called a biofilter that your water is going in, and it's full of biology. The biology eats everything up, converts it over to what's good for the plants. And that's really what Mother Nature is doing, is she's feeding everything into the biology, which breaks all the stuff up at the molecular level and cleans it up and makes it available for more plants, etc., to grow. But Andy, we're pretty much at the hour.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
Next week.
I just sat down here. I just sat down a moment ago. All I want to say is that think of the river flowing through a forest. That water is so amazing. It's structured, has all the minerals you need, and it'll heal you. Okay, that's the water that's what you need to do. Keep it simple. If you can get a hold of this water and drink the best water, that'll solve all your problems right off the bat.
Yeah,
Right on
it's going to solve a lot of the problems, and if we can get a high quality food with lots of nutrients in the food, that's going to be the another major part.
It's the same thing with the plants.
Yeah. So next week on our garden, on this
Sure,
show,
sure.
natural pest control, and then tomorrow the ladies are the link between stress, pain, and nervous system dysfunction on chiropractic is sexy tomorrow. And then on Sunday, I'm on with Dr. Paula Ruffin, and we're going to be talking about biology and the human body and how all of this connects back together. And then, of course, on Monday, we're going to be talking about the horizontal soil system with Josh from Yellow Skunk Farms. And Leighton was sick this last Monday. That's why we didn't do the show. But we're going to be doing 3 shows of 3 different horizontal growers. And then we're going to have a panel of those 3 growers on with Leighton. And we're going to be talking more about the horizontal soil system for the next 4 weeks. But guys, thank you for your questions. I'm sorry if we missed any of them. We do try to catch them and get them answered for you as best as we can. But Andy, peace out,
old.
brother.
We're both old, very, very old. You know, so it's like, what can
yeah. That's the gray. Yeah,
I want to get like you. I want to get really big.
Well, and let you guys know, Andy's going to be, 77 in a week or something like that, you were saying? Yeah.
Send the money. I give you a place to send money to. Yeah.
Guys.
Bye now.
Peace out, everybody. Have a great night.
Same to you, everybody. Bye now. Take care.